I can't get Bieber's Drummer Boy out of my head. I blame you.
Don't worry, I've got the cure for everything that ails you.
At this point, I'm willing to try anything.
Crank 2.
Isn't that the movie about the guy who has to keep his heartbeat over 50 miles an hour or the meteor will smash into the earth?
No, that's Crank 1, and also a bunch of other movies. Crank 2 is the one where Jason Statham needs to keep shocking himself with electricity in order to stay alive because a bunch of triads stole his heart.
That isn't a metaphor, is it?
No, it's not.
Oh, I think I'm gonna love this. Crank High Voltage is one of the single most offensive pieces of media ever created, and is an accidental triumph of avant-garde cinema for the post-video game audience. What? You needed more? Crank High Voltage almost can't be evaluated on the same terms as other films because, well, it's not speaking the same language. The narrative is using an entirely separate grammar and structure that only resembles conventional film because of fundamentals that exist across all visual media. It'd be like looking at Super Bass and complaining about how poorly it'll perform on the adult contemporary charts.
No, wait, I've got a better one. It's like saying the Mona Lisa is a bad music video.
Yeah, or the boy in striped pajamas is a bad how-to guide for world domination.
Dude, not cool.
Oh, okay. It uses barely any conventional modern cinematic structure. It doesn't have acts, character arcs, or the typical sense of rising and falling action because it plays like a video game. Minus the game parts. See, video games have an odd convention that's unique to them, and it's that the narrative progression is typically contingent on the player's success. The story doesn't advance until the player defeats the boss, collects the star, or racks up enough points. The rise and fall of action, from the viewer's perspective, is created through game overs and save game reloads, rather than a character getting beat down towards the end of the second act like you would expect to see in a conventional cinematic story. You have a hard boss fight that leads to the player dying and reloading a whole bunch of times. This means that when you take a step back and look at the plot of most games without the experience of play and the multiple failures needed to win, the final conflicts make almost no sense. The game becomes a story about the main villain standing off against a protagonist who has, without failure, blown through hundreds, if not thousands, of henchmen and sub-bosses, often single-handedly. So, while your standard hero arc looks something like this, with things starting bad, getting better, then getting worse, before shooting way up at the final confrontation, you get a hero arc that is just a straight upward line. This lack of a curve is becoming less common over time, but most games have to work around this by taking control away from the player and forcing them to watch a short movie where the protagonist is knocked out, taken captive, and all their guns are taken away.
That's it.
Of course, that started off as a way to keep player character power in check so that the player wouldn't roll over the second half of the game with a stockpile of rockets rather than a concern for narrative integrity, but I digress. This is the exact same arc that we see in Crank High Voltage. For serious, this movie plays less like a story and more like a speedrun of Quake. Chev Chelios, played by Jason Statham, after not dying from a several hundred-foot fall out of a helicopter, has his heart stolen by triads and replaced with a temporary mechanical heart. When the black market organ doctors talk about sealing his penis, he decides that he's had enough, murders them, and decides to get his heart back. He murders a few hundred people, meets some crazies, murders more people, gets knocked out and stripped of his guns, then collects the ultimate power-up and defeats the final boss. He never really fails so much as finds out that the princess is in another castle. Or rather, his heart is in another gangbanger's hideout. This movie is aggressive in every definition of the word. It's extremely violent, it's laden with profanity, sex, and nudity, and it's racist, jingoist, ableist, homophobic, xenophobic, ageist, sexist, anti-authority, and then some. I don't think it manages anti-intellectualism, if only because none of the characters are smart enough for someone else to make fun of them. And yet, For all the insults and aggression, it's not hateful. It doesn't seem to have time for hate, spite, or, well, messages. In the Los Angeles Chev Chelios lives in, everyone is messed up. Everyone's a sexist, racist, violent pig, but no one has time to care due to all the sexing and murdering they're busy with. It's gleefully oblivious to its own excesses, and while it's a terrible movie, that's kind of what makes it amazing. It captures the narrative non-arc of a video game and does it perfectly in a way 1,000 deconstructive art films never could. By accident. It's the stream of thought film from brains full of Grand Theft Auto instead of Battleship Potemkin. There is no ironic detachment here, no higher level critique of the medium, and the only question is a non-question. You know what'd be f***ing sweet? Bailing getting hit by a car out of nowhere. That'd be f***ing sweet.